Right.
That's why I'm so
When you're ready.
You're good. I have a really good major.
I'd like to call this Town Council Workshop for the Strategic Plan for June 23rd, 2026 to order at 2:06 p.m. if you'd rise for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Most loving and gracious Father, thank you for another day in the land of the living. Thank you for giving us another opportunity to serve the town, and that you be in the midst, in the middle of this strategic plan meeting, giving us the wisdom to move forward for all people and for the better good of this town. In his name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome the myriad of guests, both of you. I'll open public question and comment. Sorry, let's have a roll call. Yes, let's do.
Mayor Pro Tem Everline,
Here.
Councilor Arnold,
Present.
Councilor Newman,
Present.
Councilor Miles,
Here.
Mayor Wells.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Now I'll open public question and comment for any item that is not on this agenda. If you come, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Mitzi Maxwell. I live at 803 Camino Real Boulevard in wonderful Howey-in-the-Hills. I want to briefly speak about resident participation. Last night reminded me how important it is that residents have meaningful opportunities to engage with their government. Public comment is one of those opportunities. Residents take time out of their schedules to come here, share their perspectives, and participate in the life of this community. Whether we agree with one another or not, people should feel that they've been heard. Listening does not require agreement. It simply requires giving people the opportunity to speak and knowing their views have been considered, all of their views. Last night also provided another example of resident engagement. Mayor Pro Tem Everline shared an opportunity for a Howey resident to participate in a citizen advisory group connected to the MPO. I appreciated that invitation and the council's support for including a resident voice in that specific process. That experience got me thinking about the value of resident involvement beyond public comment, whether through advisory committees, citizen working groups, surveys, website dashboards, workshops, or other forms of engagement. There may be opportunities to involve residents more directly in the work of the town. As you discuss the strategic plan today, I hope resident participation remains part of the conversation. Residents are not obstacles to good government. They are partners in it. Trust is built when residents are invited into the work, not just informed of the results. The strongest communities are not the ones where everyone agrees. They are the ones where people stay engaged, stay informed, and continue to show up. Thank you.
Any other public? Can you hear me now, Morgan? Any other public comment? Oh, no, anybody online? No, I'll close public comment and move on to our only item of new business discussion of the town of Howey-in-the-Hills new strategic plan.
So before we really jump into this, I think we need to be clear what we're trying to accomplish in today's meeting. And I think, we have a working framework with what Councilor Arnold has presented to us, but this is certainly not a near final strategic plan. I think we need to keep it at a high level and talk about the strategic direction that we're looking at, because I think if we try to go for a wordsmithing of a line by line in this, we're just going to be trying to edit a flawed document. That's nothing against the document itself, but just I think the document's more of a structural basis than something to be polished as it is.
Tim, do you have any?
I liked the framework of what was submitted. What I did was I listed what I felt was the most important thing for the town to focus on in the next 5 years. Now, I think these things could be fit into the framework that was provided. But I had number one, the water plant. To me, that's a priority right now for all of us. I had solidified the police department as one of our priorities. Wastewater, staffing/housing, park improvement, road improvement, or transportation and mobility, however we want to word it. But those to me, as we move forward, I think would be important. And as Mitzi said, I think in many of these things, the more we can include the residents and hear their opinions, the better we'll be.
And I like how you hit on that we can make this focused on some real near-term challenges we need to overcome. But it's also good to have an outlying goal that we're going there and realize, like any trip you would take in a car somewhere, for the most part, you're probably going to have to make detours. That's okay as long as we keep knowing ultimately where we're going. The members of this council know certain things about, oh, we have to work this, we have to work that. But as we get replaced, new folks come on, it would be nice if they have a document that they can go to say, that's why they wanted us to focus on developing the lakefront. That's why they wanted to talk about building a marina, having a playhouse, things like that for the town, so that people don't forget that, yes, some of the things we're doing today are just laying the groundwork for those future projects.
Renee, do you have any opening comments?
Not at this time.
David?
Of course. I don't know how much detail I've been warned not to wordsmith the thing.
Just hand it over to me. I'll work them in.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm used to doing that.
One thing on goal number 1 that you've got there, the strategic corridors that they've got are districts within Mount Dora. But I like the framework of what you put there. And I think that we have 5 corridors that could be named from here.
Good.
One is Central Avenue. The next one, I'm going to call it, for lack of something better, Route 19 South, which is the commercial areas on the south side of town. Next one will be Route 19 North, which is where the public shopping center and the new developer that's across the street is talking about developing. The next area I have is the Little Lake Terrace waterfront. And finally, County Road number 2. Those 5 areas.
Yeah, I like that.
Without going, I can hand you a copy of this and you can pick up the little nits that I've got all throughout here.
That'd be great.
Like, for example, goal 4, it says right tree, right place program. We have a tree fund. I just thought we'd insert that in there. I gave some examples on goal 5, under 5.3, the undergrounding of electric lines along Palm Avenue. I put a subset under that, which would be part of the franchise renewal with Duke to discuss that. Just as example, under 5.6, I put things like the existing parks we have on the south side of town. I would like to see us convert this town-owned block here into a town square
And that's a perfect
As a-
thing to put in here.
as a subset to objective 5.6 for recreation and community things. Um,
And that's the whole idea behind this plan. We get these ideas in there and we kind of know where we're going. So that people go, well, why do you want to move the library again? It's because we'd like to create a town center with its own community room.
And I put an objective 7.5 in to identify and obtain use of a property for a municipal complex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Under goal 8, I added an 8.7 to dedicate the 9, and you don't have to agree with me, obviously, on all these things, but I'd like to dedicate the 9-acre property that we have on County Road number 2 for a future public works compound for them to park the garbage trucks and the dump trucks and put in essence, put a motor pool there. I took out the renovation of Fire Station 34 using the remaining bond funds. I'm not sure where that came from, but goal 10, I had an objective 10.5, which is to replace the overage ductile iron pipes in the original section of Howey as each street is replaced as part of objective 8.1 that you already had in there. This is something that Morgan suggests to us about 6 months or so ago. And I thought that was a good place for it to go in. That's about it. I updated a lot of your things on your appendix because it's like 8 months old and
It is.
a lot of these things have changed since then. That's about it. Those are my comments.
Make a copy of that or just hand it
Yeah.
over?
Have the copy of this. You can do with it what you think.
No, those are good inputs. The appendix was derived from what was that document you gave me, Sean?
The major, no,
Pulled stuff from the SIP and that major
development summary?
major
Yeah.
development summary. And that's really probably where we should be putting a lot more short-term goals in there while still leaving the strategic plan with the, we're going to San Francisco and this is what we need to remember as we're going to San Francisco kind of thing. It's okay to make a stop in Cheyenne, Wyoming. You got a straight shot in I-80.
I've been to both of those places.
Yes, you have.
Had the oil changed in my van.
My initial when I looked at this, the one thing that I don't want to see is when somebody reads it that it sounds like it's been written by a human being. Because when you see things like in 5.0, strategic continuity and regional context, I have no idea what that means. Maybe if I read the bit underneath, maybe it will give me an idea.
5.8.
5.0.
5.0.
And
I also had a problem with that whole section.
so, and what I also, you may recall, that I wrote the early part of the strategic plan, which was sent out to you guys. And whilst a lot of that was to do with the finances, how we get the money and all that, which maybe is not relevant to go into this particular plan, although I think it's going to be very relevant when we start to look at the ad valorem, when we're going to be trying to educate people, in other words, where we get the money, etc., etc. But I also think that wordy vision statements and mission statements, also, if you want people to believe in them, then they need to be written in a way that people think it was written by a human being, not by AI, because it's very noticeable when people speak here. We can tell whether or not it's written by somebody, or whether it's written by AI. The mission statement that I had in there was much more succinct. We did put in the core values, which obviously did not make it into there. And I also think the part that I wrote, which in fact I didn't even write it, it was the stuff that was taken off the website with regards to the history of the town, ought to also be inside of there. There is a part also in there which explains how our town government works. So in other words, if you're going to tell people what the plan is, you also got to tell them what you've got and how that plan is going to be put forward. The operations and services, fine. That's all. I'm not worried about that, but I did put in at the end of it, of course, what Tim had alluded to, the future prospects and goals for law enforcement, public services, parks and recs, libraries, etc., because all of those should form part of what we're looking at as a plan going forward. So that was my main thing, and it was hard because I've got two computers here simply so that I can see what Mount Dora's and what is ours. Again, the opening remarks from the town manager. First and foremost, it wasn't written by the town manager. I don't know how it was written, or maybe it was just written by AI. But again, it's very wordy, very AI-ish in terms of the way it is. And it's, now I know Sean tends to use AI quite a bit. Maybe it's because it makes him look smarter than he is. I'm really not sure. But at the end of that was just a joke, Sean. Don't take offense. Just a gate. So you understand what I'm saying, that, if it's going to be ours, first and foremost, it's not Mount Dora's. And the second thing is, if it's going to be ours, then make it seem like we wrote it. That's my comment.
Yeah, when I went through the things that I listed as I feel the most important could easily be put into the framework that's set up here. But the other thing I feel when we list them, we should list them in what we believe are the priorities. So top priority to least priority. So to me, infrastructure, which is in this framework, should be number one. Public safety, two. Staffing and housing.
Sorry, Tim, what was the slash housing bit with the staff?
It would be a town, not whatever you want to call it, but a center where you have a library and a town hall.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
So
because we have to house
so you
our staff.
housing of us.
Yes.
Right. So
And I personally, as we move to that, don't feel a police station should be by a library. So I think that in my mind, it needs to be a separate building. And if we move out of this library, the library could even be a police station. You got all the parking you need and you have plenty of room in there. But anyway, whatever. then after staffing and housing, economic development, then beautification, recreation, and I have transportation mobility last. But that would be roads. What are we going to do about golf carts as we move forward? What about e-bikes and that kind of thing?
Why do you put transportation last?
Because I think that the other things are more important right now. Now, I would not,
I would put it first.
well, yeah,
You're saying that's a.
yeah,
different
the
topic.
problem is, I think it's a very important thing, but we're stuck. We can't change 19. We can't change 48. And those are the roads that are going to create issues because you're not going to be able to move on them.
Well,
Uh,
and if I can, just a thought, especially since we're looking at the Mount Dora structure, there's initiatives and then there's goals within the initiatives. So you can say, for example, infrastructure is its own initiative to improve infrastructure. And within that, you can prioritize, well, and you could count roads as part of a mobility initiative, or you could count roads as an infrastructure initiative. But let's say, or maybe if you were more specific, maybe one initiative is utilities, and then you prioritize water, wastewater, sanitation, collection, et cetera. Electricity, and you prioritize it within that framework, and then you look over at your mobility, we'll call it mobility initiative, and roads are obviously going to be well above bike trails, and sidewalks are probably going to be above bike trails as well, but below roads. So I think you can do it by initiative and prioritize the initiatives. And then within the initiatives, you can say, what's the number one thing for that initiative? And then it's not, is wastewater more important than roads? Because we're really, there's mobility and there's.
Actually, I would put our utilities in front of roads. I think water is number one, and we've been working on water for several years.
I think Tim planned to do that under the infrastructure for that.
Yeah,
But
that
my question to you, David, because obviously we had the transportation part. What are you including in transportation? Are you including roads in transportation, or are you including
Yes,
other things?
that there are two things in transportation.
Two things, David. Thank you.
Okay. One is the roads, and the other is moving people in our community. We don't have, unless you're my age and you call up the drive a bus program that the county has. I don't know what they call that, but
It's Lake Connect, I think it's called.
but
Yeah,
it's hard. If you don't have a car and you live in Howey, it's hard to get around this county. And we don't have, for example, much shopping or anything. It would also include sidewalks, yes.
Yes.
Which we are very deficient on in most of the older portions of the town. The newer portions are fine. One of the problems I had is, and you'll remember this, Tim, I got shot down twice on trying to get traffic circles as a traffic calming device put in by developers that were buying, making them pay as part of their development to put those traffic circles in. One of the later developers heard us and volunteered to pay for a traffic circle. I think there's an opportunity if the new developer that has the rights to Thompson Grove now, his problem is he wants to have a PUD. Takes 100 acres under our new comprehensive plan to have a PUD. The land that he has rights to now are roughly 98 acres. So he's scavenging around trying to find 2 more acres. And there's 3 or 4 different opportunities that are adjacent to him that I think if he tries hard enough, he'll succeed. I looked at the plan he proposed. No plan is perfect at that stage, but it was decent. The housing part was very similar to the areas adjacent to it. They were putting commercial at the intersection of 19 and 48, which is what I would expect. And they had a large parcel that they were going to give to the town as a park. And it included the area where the grave sites for Mr. Howey and his family are located. It was decent. He's willing to go ahead and restore the traffic circle at the entrance going into the public that we had originally
I
had.
saw that on his plan.
And that gives me some degree of encouragement. There are some developers that have done, I think, a good planning job. There are a couple developers that haven't given us spit, quite frankly. And they take it, but they don't give it, as far as I'm concerned. But with that, we've got a good framework where we can kind of envision how we want this town to look. I really think traffic circles, for example, serve two very good purposes. One is there a safety enhancement compared to crossroads where people T-bone each other when they fall asleep, or if they think red means green and green means red. It's a safety improvement. And number two, it actually, if you drive through the villages, it improves the traffic flow up there. They don't have the type of backups that you see in a lot of other places. So long answer to your short question.
Yeah, I think the plan that was put forward by Thompson Grove was conceived with the roundabout prior to the light being approved for to go outside of the publics. And bearing in mind, of course, at the time when they did that, it was only seen to be a two-lane road going through 19 for that. And as it turned out, FDOT wanted it to be a 4-lane. So I'm not sure that they would still be as keen to do that. But the light is what's approved there. But I think with the roundabout outside of Mission Inn, the roundabout that's probably going to be at Revels Road, and the one at 19 and 48 probably will enhance things.
What I was thinking about with mobility, when you have the Publix and whatever will end up on the south end, people are going to want to get there in golf carts. And the way we're set up right now, well, but I think that's something that we need to discuss.
Roundabouts as well.
Is there a way that they could go on side streets and somehow end up across from the public, so they just have to go across 19 without ever being on 19?
If that's where that traffic circle would be extremely useful at that point. I mean, I just shudder to think about someone trying to get across 19 as it is now.
Well, what I'm thinking about is that what I was thinking of was the entrance out of Mission Inn going across there. So in other words,
that roundabout is still in the plan.
Yeah, that one's still in the plan.
so I know about your roundabout. I'm talking about where the exit on the 48 is going to be.
About that one.
Yeah, I don't think
The
that's
one
going to
at
happen.
You're talking about the one opposite Mission Inn?
Yeah, but I don't believe a roundabout's going to happen there.
No, I think that's definitely in the plan, and the whole thing was that they were going to have it, because if you look inside of there, they've got sidewalks and then they've also got trails in there, and the purpose of it is that the trails will come out and golf carts will be allowed to go around the roundabout to get into Mission Inn.
Well, they're actually going to go through the roundabout where they can stop if needed and wait for traffic to go by before they can.
Oh, see, if that's the case, then, I mean, part of our plan, I think, should be, can we do something in conjunction with Mission Inn that people could have access to that circle if there's going to be one there, so that you could go from the south end of town, down Florida or whatever, in the Mission Inn and out.
Oh,
Are suitable
I
to
see
get
what you're
over
saying.
the-
On the back.
On the back.
Access, so.
There is a logical bypass pattern that we could bypass the downtown of Howie by going basically, what's the name of the road?
Well, you'd be like Cypress Magnolia in North Florida, DuPont Circle, that area on the back access
On
road
the
where
back,
they're.
it goes right by the
facility maintenance.
wastewater plant and
Oh,
in between Talashe and the
what's closer? I think Councilor Everline's.
Different.
I think Councilor Everline's talking about more where the planetarium is.
I'm talking about
Right,
already existing roads.
Okay,
I'm not talking about building anything new.
okay.
So if you take the park up at Lake Hills,
Mhm.
right? If they were to come through Old Howie, and then that would take them down Citrus into Thompson Grove, and then
That
out
would
the
be,
other
that
side,
would help the east side of town, yes.
then out of that way, you'd still have to go through the light. But then as you go through, of course, the park is then on the right-hand side. And certainly if somebody wants to do that in a golf cart instead of, I don't know about the crossing of 19, but I mean, there's no reason why they can't do
Yeah,
that.
I'm just throwing that out. Because with mobility, you're right, David. There's people here that don't have transportation and by automobile, but might be willing to take a golf cart. It's just not a
Yeah,
thought.
I'm not suggesting that we should include in our plan a bus system or anything like that, because I think it's small. The
I think-
county operates that.
Well, and
they do at the moment, but if the ad valorem taxes go away, that's probably going to go away with it.
And it's not cheap.
Well, and there's solutions these days. It's called micro transit. So there's ways to provide public transit where you basically, short version of it would be you're pre-authorizing a certain amount of Uber credit basically for residents to use, and that's a lot cheaper than buying your own bus and hiring your own
Yeah.
employees. But you're accommodating some residents that either need to start or end in town.
Does the county trail system allow golf carts on it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
I think it's wide enough.
I mean, we've been participating, we've been putting that into all of our developments,
Yeah,
and I know that's what they do in the villages, is they
I mean,
drive
like-
their golf carts up and down the
and that's why
trail.
Lake Hills is building the extra wide. They have the narrow sidewalk on one side of the street, the extra wide one on one side, because they envision the golf carts being in the wide ones, not in the street.
It's an idea for a future meeting. I'm sorry, Renee. Bring in Gallus Quigley. He's the Lake County person
Yeah.
in charge
Yep, yep.
of all the trails. Have him come to a meeting and discuss these things.
No, you're fine. So I'm listening to the conversation in regard to the golf cart, especially when you speak about someone going from the south end of town to the north end of town where Publix would be located. I'm not seeing how it's safe. When we think about the villages is set up very different. Whereas their golf carts, they have specific roadways off to the side that can take them through different tunnels and places. So when we talk about golf carts and how they would transport or people can use them, and my main mind of thinking is that it's just easier at that point to get in a car and just go up there. But to David's point, everyone don't have the vehicle. But then at the same time, when we talk about golf cart transportation, I also agree with David that while it is important to our strategic plan, it is not at the top of the list, because now we're talking about safety. We're talking about so many pieces and components that go with this. And what we do not want is to put the town in a space without a lot of SMEs to come in and then it may even cost the town. Whereas how do we build a roadway off of our sub roads? But we can't do anything on State Road 19. We can't do anything on 48. All of that have to be through state and county. And that means that they would need to be involved. And that means that with everything else that's going on, I'm just not seeing the golf cart
And
transport
frankly,
as
knowing
something
that
that is at the top of the
Jim
list.
Joe's master
I have it at the
plan
bottom of my
has
list.
no road construction by the state into Howie for the next 50 years.
Yeah, my
I mean,
concern.
That's right.
My
Yeah,
concern.
I mean, so why bother to plan? Oh, well, we're having this here. Okay, we'll do that the next century, I guess. But I mean, even with the proposed study to look at widening 19 from 50 all the way up to
455.
455, that's a 7-year study that's coming
Well,
up. That has
something's
nothing to do with are they
Well,
they gonna do it?
something is about to go on because Sunbridge, which is that supersized community that they're about to build up in Groveland, off to the right as you go to the turnpike, they started clearing the land last week.
Yeah.
And now this is their time. This is 2026. So FDOT is going to be doing something to 19. What it is, we just don't know all of the plan that go with it. But I think that for Howie right now, I know, I think the strategic plan is awesome and I'm listening to the conversation and everything. But here's this thing, my mind is on the economics. And I'm thinking about, yes, we got a 5-year plan, but what comes first? What do we need to, infrastructure is super important because the town cannot grow if the infrastructure is not put in place.
I think to that point, and I think at this point in the conversation, it probably would benefit us to go up a step and look at these initiatives that we currently have in here. And they have example goals. And we've done a lot of brainstorming on mobility in particular. But I think to help us with the next phase of the major revision of the strategic plan, we need to say, are these the 5 strategic initiatives that this town wants? Do we agree with them? Do we want to possibly reorder them, cut out one, add another one? But I think this would be an ideal time to look at them and see if we agree with them as part of
Let
the
me
framing
make
of the.
clear, for somehow or the other, I got tagged with the idea of the golf carts, which wasn't brought up by.
No.
It was brought up by your.
No. It's
I have that last on my list. I just
My-
thought I'd throw that out there.
I have no interest in the golf cart. I don't have one. I don't plan on
No, I get
getting
you.
one. But
Gonna happen.
I was just asking, does,
You had some really good points, though.
yeah,
I
does the
mean,
path,
does
the path plan of the county allow golf carts on it? And the answer was
I
yes.
think it is.
I'm
So,
not sure of that, John. I would suggest having Gallus Quigley come to a meeting.
my concern is a past town council before the time of even Renee and myself in 2022 set up a program for road reconstruction in this town. And they went to the extent of having Morgan put together a plan, which, by the way, his results were very similar to one that a past police chief had done back in the
20 years prior.
1990s,
Yeah.
20 years prior. They put a plan to bring our streets up, and it would take 20 years at the rate of, and they put in place back in fiscal year 22, $300,000 a year, which we did for 4 years running. And we got 4 streets upgraded out of that amount. And the price of doing streets is going up. With that 20-year plan, where he had basically rank ordered all the streets in the town, we, at the end of 20 years, we'd be at the position of redoing the streets in Venetia and Tallahassee following that. It would take us 20 years to get, well, the typical lifespan of a street in Florida, because fortunately for us, we don't have freezing and thawing and all that, but 20 to 25 years is about what a residential street will last. So if we had kept on that plan and put 300,000 a year, in the last 2 years, we spent some money because it took us forever to get North Citrus done. But the streets that we had programmed in 25 and 26
Pushed.
have not been done.
Yeah.
We changed the priorities and said, oh, it's nicer to have little fishing piers than it is and a boat ramp than it is to keep up our plan of renovating our street. If we do something, and I'm not just on streets, we need to be consistent in our application.
So-
We can't be swinging back and forth constantly for every little thing that happens. We need to say, okay, these are our priorities.
So to that point, Counselor Miles, I think, if we go through these initiatives and goals and we say roads is at the top of mobility, the mobility initiative, and mobility is the second or third most important initiative after utilities and whatever else. But I think that's an essential part of this high level that we're currently at of clarifying the initiatives and from the initiatives and then ranking them. And then from the initiatives, clarifying the goals and ranking them.
And actually, I think there's something higher than the roads, believe it or not. And it's the one that Morgan put his finger on, which is replacing the water pipes in the original
would be-
portion of town.
Right. So the utility initiative would be higher than the mobility initiative.
Right.
But they're in the, they're going to be under the subheading of infrastructure.
I would
I mean,
think
I would put them
so.
as their own initiative.
I would think so. It
So
would be under the
did you
heading of
put any-
infrastructure, but that was a conversation when we first came on, actually presented by you. And then that price that came in with it, but it should definitely be under infrastructure because it have everything to do with water and how things, serving the town.
I mean, it elevates them to make them separate, unless you have so many initiatives that you have to
No,
combine them.
this is my thought. I know that I was asked about my initial thought, and here's my thought. I want to thank everyone that was involved with putting the strategic plan together. I think that it is wonderful to look at this on paper. But what I found myself doing is that I felt like I was kind of all over the place because some of the things like we had tourism and then we had like the infrastructure was like number 4 or 5 and different things. And that's great because these are ideas that we're putting on paper. But what I would like to suggest is that if we can just compact it to 5 goals and if we instead of 10. And that way, if you put 5, you don't have because we have 5 years, 5 goals, but under those 5 goals, you're going to have subsections, but they'll all be compacted together. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe we're using different words.
Because I
would
think
see
that it just feels,
goals.
He said initiatives. I think you guys are saying the same.
Because
so just a word.
yeah, you could say there's 5, we'll call them things for right now, but just with, I'll call it utilities, not even all infrastructure, but just utilities. You could say you have 5 things because you have water, wastewater, gas, electric, and
Pipe,
sanitation. So that's 5
infrastructure.
things under utilities, not even infrastructure. So there's 6 things, and that's not even
Well, and
roads and other,
the other
that's
thing is the
utilities.
strategic initiatives are not rank ordered. In other words, we don't work on one first and then worry about number 2.
No,
It's going to be a simultaneous campaign conducted with each one having its own different line of
Priorities.
advance.
Right.
And some will move faster than others, and some it may be important later on to identify what the actual sequence of actions so that you lay down the proper groundwork and another to enable something else to happen on another plan later on. But the idea is like you said, the economy, focus on the economy. We also should be able to focus on beautifying the town at the same time. we also need to be thinking in terms of the infrastructure. High quality services, if that's not what a town exists for, then why do we have a town?
Well,
And
those,
then,
yeah,
and
but
then
those,
lastly, never forget about the human resources. And by physical, it's also the physical, it's also looking out there on other sources of funding that could come in to help the town as opposed to just rely on our own pocketbooks to help things out. Because some things we want are pretty big ticket items. We're gonna need help. Like General Powell says, it's always good to have lots of friends.
But do we
Yeah.
need to go through and name these strategic initiatives or possibly even rename them as we go through?
Sure.
Just to make sure, and to Councilor Arnold's point, they don't certainly have to be
They
prioritized,
don't have
but
to be
but
named
you-
that way.
right. But you might want to, if we know that one's higher than another, we could shuffle them, but
We don't
is
yeah.
promote economic development. Is that a Howie initiative that we want to keep as one of our top 5 or 6 initiatives?
I think so.
And and just as examples, they give examples of promoting strategic corridors, enhancing alternative mobility, so they make it its own thing outside of mobility in general, and promoting tourism. But is that a Howie strategic
I
initiative
don't-
that we want to keep?
I don't personally think so.
I don't think so in the next 5 years.
But this plan is designed to take us from today to 20 years from now with
Well, it's-
emphasis on more
I
near.
thought we were 25 to
I thought it was
30.
2025,
I thought it was a-
2030.
Well, if you read it, it has the years on it, but it'll say that will take Howie to achieve whatever the word was to 2030 and beyond. Now, if you'd like, I can change the scope of the plan on the front. But the idea would be, it's going to need to be reviewed. You know, if this was the joint staff, we'd review it every 2 years. Well, we're not. So we'll do it every 5 years. We put the more, and that means we'll be changing the order of some things. Some projects will be added, some will be dropped off.
Well, and if I could say, I think it'll be useful as we go through this, because we're gonna get to the end. And we might find that we don't even have 5 initiatives, and then we go back and
Could be.
say, oh, well, we do want to do the downtown, and we call it something different, and we put it at the bottom of the list with a slightly modified name. But I think if we just run through and do a gut check on each one.
Sure.
So, but there's some antipathy towards economic development being a huge priority, and I understand
But
the
it, but
idea.
again,
A lot of
it-
people also, when you're putting this stuff into a strategic plan that people are going to want to read and understand, it comes back to what I was saying about the AI thing. A lot of people don't understand what economic development is. And so you've
yeah,
got,
I think they do.
sorry?
I think they do.
Well, see, and the other thing is what people are interested in terms of the plan going forward, are the things that they see every day. Tim brought up town administration as far as the building and staff, but they want to know what the future of the law enforcement is, what public services is, parks and recreation. These are the things that I thought we were going to put in there so that people could see where we're looking to go in the next 5 years. Library, roads, transportation, special events, even water and wastewater were the things that I had put on there for us to then put more meat on the bone. I think the other thing that I would like to see, frankly, and I don't know who has the skills and abilities to do it, but to clean this up so that it actually looks like a Howie document and not just a version of Mount Dora's, so that we can actually see what's in there, because some of the stuff that's in there is just relative to Mount Dora and nothing to
Well,
do with Howie.
Right, but I think as
didn't
we go
mention
through.
that, but I marked through all the outdoors.
Right.
I think that would be a good job for our town manager. Seriously,
Copy editing and
no, writing from our ideas, the strategic plan.
Okay. But the question I have, because now we're getting back into the copy editing level, but we still have these major questions of,
Oh, I understand that. I'm saying,
What
once
you
we
call the five
develop
levels.
that,
yeah.
because you're a good writer, and I, you would write it more in the human style.
It's his brother Chat that's a good writer.
Can I,
Very good human style too.
can I just say something real quick? I've been here for almost 6 years now. And one of the things that consistently I've seen from the councils, even from reviewing the past, is that over and over and over again, there's been identifying that a lack of commercial base in the town is a major problem. And you guys, I just sat here and listened to you talk about how promote economic development wouldn't be one of your top 5 pillars. So are you guys saying now that promoting commercial development within the town is not a top 5 priority from the council?
And I think what we're gonna find, John, is as we go through this and we look at what we have in here, I think we're gonna find that some renamed version of that is still gonna end up in the top 5 by the time we get to, because we'll
I
talk
think
about
that-
walkable downtown.
But I think that to John's point, and that has been a conversation that I've had almost since being on this council, is that it is very important. While we know we have a segment of the population that do not want development, but in order for this town to survive and go forward, development, commercial is required, especially if what happens if this referendum passes in November. Howey-in-the-Hills is going to be up a creek without a paddle. This is the reason that you have Mineola, Claremont, and many others that are developing commercial like nobody's business. They have allowed Costco and these, I mean, it's just crazy what's going on the other end of 50. However, you have the other side of many of the people that live here that say, well, we don't want to be we don't want to be Claremont, we don't want to be Mineola. No one is saying that Howey-in-the-Hills should be Mineola or Claremont or Mount Dora for that matter, because Mount Dora is a $1 billion government as of, I think, last year or the year before last. But what you need is you need the commercial development. You need the development because this is what's going to help the town continue to survive, be able to pay staff, be able to pay our bills. As of right now, we just last night sat here and talked about maxing out our credit, the credit line. These things have to get paid. How do they get paid? So commercial development, I do believe, and this is something we talked about 3 years ago when we did a strategic plan. We need to have commercial. We need to worry about also how our police department, because as you grow, you need your safety department, which is your police. So this is where I'm thinking, I'm not saying that the strategic plan is not good. What I'm saying is it's not in the order for what Howey-in-the-Hills need right now.
Well, can I
Of course.
say something? I think a strategic plan is important, and I think you need to start by the first step for this is identifying what you think the town's major pillars or major initiatives, whatever you want to call them, are going to be before you start going into, I want a golf cart crossing here. There's
3 levels
pillars,
down.
There's goals, and then there's ways to get to the goals. That's like starting at the bottom and trying to work your way up. I think you need to identify the character of the town and what you want to do. And what I mean by that is if you decide that you do want commercial, there are multiple different ways that can happen. If you look at municipalities around us, they range everywhere from Claremont as an example, where it's big box after big box everywhere and just sprawl, to the far end of the spectrum would be Winter Garden, where you see what their downtown is like, and and I would actually challenge you that Claremont has been focusing for the past 10-15 years on revitalizing their downtown.
Yes.
To
And a
to
very
bring it more in line
yeah.
with a Winter Garden or a Mount Dora.
In fact,
And-
Sanford serves as an even better example.
Right. So I mean, there are multiple though examples. So the thing that I would encourage you to do as a group is to come together and talk about what your priorities are, or do you see it, what is your number one deficiency that you have in the town? And I am not a policymaker, but from being here for 6 years, and we'll just say I'm an interested party, I would say that your commercial growth in this town, and it's up to you guys to define what you would like that to be and how much you would want. But I think that if you want a sustainable town 20 years in the future, you need to talk about how you're gonna get there today.
It's gonna be within the top 5 or 6 initiatives. It has.
And, you know, there are other things to talk about, you know, whether you want a new municipal complex, whatever. Once again, those aren't pillars, those aren't initiatives, those are are goals and, you know, not the overall of what it is you need to do. And I would encourage you to crawl before you run. So
But to that point, can we maybe just, because we're already an hour in, we're still talking about whether we like the first initiative or not.
I think
Can
our
we-
first initiative is utilities, quite frankly.
Well, and I think that'll,
Because our utilities are substandard.
yeah, and I'm just going through them in the rank, you know, the ordinal number as they're laid out in the plan.
But there's got to be some narrative that goes with each of these initiatives as well. Who's going to write that narrative?
If we
Coming
know
back,
what it is, I mean, staff can write it, but the narrative, it has to come, the initiatives have to come from
right?
the council. So if we look at the second initiative, for example, as I subtly try to move us to the next point here, we have beautify Howey-in-the-Hills. And I would even tweak that because I know, Mayor, you mentioned events. There's really not a category where events falls in here. I would tweak it a little bit to say beautify the quality of life in Howey-in-the-Hills, and that includes everything from trees to events.
well,
And is that an initiative or some version of that an initiative?
once again, events are more of a goal or something to
But I'm saying, but
but-
the initiative would be beautify quality of life. And
I get that, but it would also fall under if you decide that you want commercial.
well, it could be under
and
economic
you're
development.
gonna
Well,
need-
look-
If you look at some of these places that have beautiful commercial, small downtown areas, they also do massive events to draw crowds in so that there is an environment that small business owners want to live in. And,
So some of these
But
patterns are.
there's a chicken and egg with commercial as well, because at the end of the day, at the moment, one of the reasons that you can't draw in the commercial. I mean, we've got commercial on the south side. One meeting, please, guys. We have, you know, the two lots of commercial on the left and right hand side of Venezia. But at the end of the day, we have 20, you know, we have, how was it, 2,200 residents. And frankly, I think that within the people that we've got, one of the issues is how well, for instance, the Pancake Diner is going to do based on the people that we've got in the town and the rooftops that we've got. So publics, of course, are very smart, very clever, so they can obviously have a crystal ball that goes 10 years down the road and know what's going to happen. But small businesses don't have that. And so I think that as the town grows residentially, you're going to have more people come in. The 7-Eleven in that respect, as you know, whether you like it or you don't like it, is going to give us an anchor at that end of the town to fill up those other three things. So I think the commercial will come in, but I'm not sure what we can do as a council to encourage that. I mean, Ron Roberts, I'm sure, would love to have more people in there. And I've talked to, you know, United Southern Bank and other people, but when they look at it right now, it's not sustainable for a lot of these businesses. When you go into Claremont, Tavares, Mount Dora, Mineola, they've already got the rooftops. They can do that. I went along 50 the other day and found 2 restaurants in Claremont, new ones, huge ones that I've never seen before. They'll come in there because they know they will be successful. They don't know that in Howey-in-the-Hills. And so I would want to see more commercial, particularly on the top side of the town. But that's only going to come, I think, as a result of the increase in the residential.
Well, but if I can, I agree with you, but I think there is an I think there's an additional aspect as well, that if council names a thing, if they name an initiative, if they name a priority, and they say, we don't just want commercial to happen whenever and however it's going to happen when the rooftops come, but we say, no, economic development is our number one or number two priority. Policy then follows from that. And then we say, okay, we need goals and sub goals and beyond that. Are we going to waive impact fees for commercial development in our corridor to kickstart it? Are we going to do these other things to change our
A
own?
little too tactical now.
Well, but
If
I'm
you wanna
just
try to
saying.
Put that in a plan
Well,
like
no,
that.
but I'm saying, because the mayor seems to be saying, well, not to put words in your mouth, but why name economic? It's gonna happen when it happens when the rooftops come, so
It's
why,
not.
we don't need to prioritize it, but if we name it and say this is a thing we want, and not only do we want economic development, we later come in and say we want sub goals like a walkable downtown with commercial, et cetera. And then we get down to the nitty gritty where we say, what policies are we gonna change? How are we gonna tweak the land development code to, how are we gonna tweak our fee schedule to make it more appealing? Because we always have the strategic plan in the forefront.
What's wrong with the 5 initiatives that are in this document?
I don't think there's anything wrong, but we do have to say they are our 5 initiatives, or they aren't, or they ours, but we
Well,
want to tweak the
I
wording a
think
little
Tim
bit.
had pretty much got
Is
it
it five?
nailed.
I
I
thought
mean,
it's
and I don't,
So,
personally, I don't
oh,
even think,
more than 5.
I don't
Yeah.
even think that goals, the particular
There's only
goal,
5 in here.
5 initiatives, there's 14 goals.
I don't even think that the order that they are is of monstrous importance. I mean, we know pretty much which ones. I mean, I think utilities, everybody agrees, is kind of the number one thing, but the order that they go in, I don't think is important. What is important is the narrative and what goes with it to actually explain to people who are reading this plan what we actually want to do, and get it in a way that it is Howie, not just somebody else's plan. Because otherwise, if it just becomes platitudes, and and it'll gather dust, and it never see the light of day again.
So why don't we decide on the initiatives? Utilities number one, I mean, there's no water, saying there's no water, utilities,
Yeah.
everybody in agreement with that?
So we're keeping strategic initiative number 3, strengthen and expand Howey-in-the-Hills utilities. Says it-
Well, I agree with Graham. I think we need to do our own strategic plan. And you said we need to set the pillars. And what I'm suggesting is one of the pillars should be utilities.
Yeah.
I'm trying to move this along.
The wording that's in,
Cliche,
the
though.
wording that's in this document for number 3 is strengthen and expand Howey-in-the-Hills infrastructure. And that includes utilities. Now, do we want to reword that?
to
Well,
set
I think
utilities.
I don't want to get tied up in the rewording of it. I think Tim is right that if we get the main subheadings, the main headings there, and then let staff or whoever want to do it start putting more meat on the bone. This is not going to be a one and done thing. This is going to take
But
quite
I
a lot of meetings.
would say it would be great if by the end of today, we were able to say, even if they're one word, just 5.
Well, I
Words.
think that's where Tim was going.
And I think it is. And I don't know that I mean, I think we're rephrasing Mount Dora in some
Well,
ways,
let's-
but
let's
however
ju-
we want to.
Let's not number them. Let's just
But
put
utilities,
down
economic development seems to.
with
still be on-
just put / commercial.
Okay, is that the human word for economic development?
I don't know. I just trying to
Public
move things
safety.
on because I'm
Yeah, I
giving
think that,
giving up the
Nate,
will to
go
live.
ahead. I agree with that one.
Public
Sorry.
safety,
Public
Public
safety.
safety.
because with development, you need to make sure your public safety is
And
in
you could
place.
Absolutely.
you could include also on that the I mean I had law enforcement down as a separate thing, but public safety is good. But also you got public services, which is going to incorporate a lot of things, including library, parks, recreation, special events, etc.
Although that seems to be focused in
Public
more
safety
quality of
and
life.
services.
I
No, I'm
think
saying-
public safety and
saying-
services sounds right, because
Well,
it
you
would be
can- you
mainly
can
our
do them as
public
one,
work.
or you can do them. I would prefer to do it as 2, because I think, to Renee's point, it's not just law enforcement, it's public safety as a whole, which encompasses also code enforcement and various other things. But public services would, in my opinion, incorporate parks,
So we could-
libraries,
we could
special
either-
events.
We could either combine them or separate them depending on how many categories
Yeah.
we have at the end, I
Yeah,
think.
let's keep going and then we can,
I agree.
staffing is, I mean, is,
The one that we have that's at number 5 here is invest in fiscal and human resources.
right.
Do you want to change how that's
Well,
titled?
you definitely want to change the
Bit
title,
awkward,
yeah,
yeah.
but just put it down for the moment as town administration, and that's kind of all encompassing with,
That would
Stuff.
include, the housing of
yes,
staff.
Okay.
yes.
So human resources / town administration, whatever.
Whatever you want.
Town administration.
Because once it's written up, you'll be able to see, it'll give you an idea where you want to split it or where you want to keep it together. At the moment, we just got to get some meat on the bone.
Now, if you said recreation, that would cover parks, that would cover
Yeah,
events,
Well, that's the beautify.
and that would
Howey
also
Hills
put,
one, which is
Quality of life.
number 2. You want to call it quality?
Quality of life
Quality of
counts
life.
parks and events and all of that
Green
kind of.
spaces.
Green
Yeah.
spaces would fit in there. I mean,
because I did like the beautification, we could do some things very
Beautification.
intensively.
so how about beautification / quality of life as a placeholder?
Quality of
Good
life
place to
sounds,
quality of life.
quality of life sounds like
You
something
can get
medical.
together with America in Bloom. We did
For
that in
someone who's in
Assateague. They've got a
Independence.
whole department to deal with this at Lake County. Well, they
Yeah.
did. Till
Morgan,
November.
Morgan brought all those flowers in last year.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
I think that's all part of that.
Yeah.
That's
Beautification.
So,
Okay.
so what are we gonna,
About recreation and beautification. It's-
Recreation would be under
Yeah,
parks.
they
If we do beautification in parks.
be under, yeah.
Right, the parks are, but the parks could also be why we're doing it to help beautify the town, yeah?
The recreation, I think, would also include special events.
I think the activity
yeah,
part
Yeah.
yeah,
things,
I,
yeah.
I go along
So,
with that.
and I think honestly, as we set these general ideas, I think once we start getting the sub goals, I think the actual precise title might become a little clearer
I think
once we
so,
name
too.
three subcategories. So right now we have what I count as 5, which is a
I've got
decent number.
3.
Okay, well, I'll run through.
You should keep.
I got utilities.
Ah,
I got economic development / commercial. I got public safety and services, which is currently bound as one, but could be split.
Yeah, I think you should split that.
Okay,
Public
I have-
safety wants to be on its own because
Okay.
people want to know people want to know what's happening with our police department.
And then I have human resources town administration, which we know what it means, but I think it needs a better name.
Well, it will do.
Then we have
Well-
quality of life / recreation beautification.
So what we're missing is roads. So what if we say utilities / infrastructure?
I think you can.
I
you-
like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you can,
I think we're
you
on the right
can,
track.
you can put it under infrastructure because it all is, and then subhead it as utilities, roads, etc. under that
Yeah.
infrastructure heading.
Infrastructure, parentheses, utilities.
Yeah. Because you can do it by bullet points, however you want
Okay,
to do it,
so I think
so
that's
that the plan is easy to read.
it's a good number.
What's that?
It's a good number.
What is?
There's
Uh,
better
5,
focus.
having
Mm,
5.
Did you have anything else outside of those 5, Tim?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay, go over them again once. So we have
Okay,
Utilities
infrastructure, parentheses, utilities.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Second is economic development,
Got it.
commercial. Third is, which is 1 or 2, but public safety and services.
Yep,
Human resources / town administration.
okay.
And last is quality of life / recreation and beautification.
Their 4th one needs to have financial administration in there too.
Human resources,
Yeah, that's what I
fiscal
would-
/ town, okay. That needs a better name, but I think once we get
Yeah.
sub goals, it'll
You can put in it as financial stewardship,
financial.
So you're saying 6 strategic initiatives.
because that's what we did as part of the
Five
state of the town.
Public.
So now help me out here, guys. At least
Safety.
give me
I
inside
have-
CEP.
I have infrastructure, public safety and services, that's
Okay.
2.
Yeah,
Town administration, human services,
Okay.
that's 3. Economic development
yeah,
is 4. Recreation / beautification.
Yeah.
okay.
So, and I think, not to get hung up on the number of these categories, because we might come back and say, as we're doing sub goals, if each of these has 3, that's great. And then one of these has 7 subcategories. At that point, we can say, let's split that into a further 2.
Well,
initiatives rather than
it's,
a big
it
one.
doesn't gonna do, it's not gonna do us any good. If I wind up writing about 6 items and everybody comes in and says, no, there should have only been 5. Ugh. So that's why I want to get it
But
down.
I thought we were gonna
Yeah,
get
we were gonna,
Sean and his.
I'll take that
Yeah.
burden off of you.
I can do it.
I think also,
Why don't Counselor Arnold and I work together and we'll.
I think also if you get with Ivy, she'll be able to fix your lighthouse and stuff. And
I already have the stuff to do
I think we
that.
determined we were gonna build a very small
I think-
lighthouse
I
to
think-
make it.
Top initiative should be build a lighthouse down there by the boat dock. There you go.
I think
We
a
need to fix the
picture
lights
of
we
a
have.
pier.
Yeah.
Sunrise at the
Yeah,
pier or something, a nice, yeah.
Maybe a water tower, who knows?
The water tower.
We have a couple good photographs that would be.
Well,
very-
definitely if we can get the water tower and Pine Park in the quality of life part.
Oh, not for the pictures, though. Oh,
Well, we're
I
talking
think he
about
was
the
talking about-
picture on.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think that the water tower, I mean, we
I
could.
think here.
I tell you what, Ivy has done so.
Photographs.
Ivy has done that for me because we were looking to try and put lights on the water tower for Christmas. It's probably price prohibitive because I've already got some quotes on it. But she did some mock-ups of that with the tower, and she's pretty good with doing that. And I think we could certainly use that. We're not going to put what we've got up there with all the
Right.
stuff on it, but you can. It's the focal point of the town. It's the only thing realistically that you can see from every direction. So I would like to be able to use that in in place of the lighthouse.
Could we put somebody in a boat taking a picture of the pier with the water tower in the distance?
All right. Well,
Because if the picture of the water tower up front is really but ugly.
you just put it through what's that?
ChatGPT?
No, neither of those.
Photoshop.
Photoshop. And Ivy can do that. It's surprising what Ivy can put together.
She uses Gemini.
Well,
I thought we were railing against AI earlier.
yeah, no, but she's whatever she uses anyway.
But now that we have the foundations, while we have a little. Oh, it's at this thing.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Wait, we have 10 minutes. It may take him.
I was gonna say, let's.
So
start
do
on
we
the
have-
first thing.
So do we have
Anxious to
3?
Get home and see England.
Do we have 3 or 5? We have 3.
We have
You know,
5.
your sensitivity, John. Thank you.
Public service.
Public safety and services,
Yeah, yeah,
Economic development,
yep.
town administration
Yeah.
/ human services,
And
and then quality of
quality of
life.
life, recreation, beautification.
Yeah.
And like I said, those may subdivide later if we find we have a lot of goals under one in particular. But
Well, we
I
don't
think it's
need a
good.
lot of goals to, 5 main topics.
Yeah.
I would say no more than five goals, although some may be a little larger than others.
And
And
if,
the whole idea is so that people behind us can look at the document and keep in mind why things have been done in the past and where the goal is, so they don't realize all of a sudden, oh, we really need to go do this instead. And that's the whole idea, for the Air Force, it was you're gonna get UAVs. No, we want more fighters. Guess what? They got more UAVs.
Well, and at the end of the day, once this is established, when there's a question, this should be the first place we look. Oh, we have a tree fund, we have money to spend in it. What should we spend it on? Let's look at our
And if we
strategic
do it
plan.
right, this should be what drives,
Yes.
this should be what drives the budget and the SIP
Yes.
and the development, so that we can, and just so you know, I mean, Sanford has gone even further. I like what they've done with theirs is the staff doesn't even put a piece of paper out unless they check off the box at the top. What part of the strategic plan that thing's going for? Otherwise, their thought is, why are we doing it?
Right. Yeah.
Which
That's a good approach.
I highly commend them on that one. That's like, whoa. Man, if you did that, most of the military staffs would go away.
Now, if we're
But-
gonna have a mission, sorry, I just wanna, a mission statement, I agree, we should cut that down to one sentence.
Well,
Well, there's a motto and so you're gonna have your mission statement. If it's not over a sentence, you're really hurting, but you can't have a motto. In other words, in addition to the mission of the United States Naval Academy is to do, and their thing is courage, commitment, and excellence.
Core values, basically, as a.
Right, but that's their motto. You take that mission statement and it comes up in those words. Well, for the Air Force, it's service, excellence, and what's the third one? I don't know. We only adopted this for retirement, but I mean, you can encapsulate that down into a motto that will help lock everybody in. And if you do your motto right, then right there is where people will figure out that's what they think is important for them. Hadn't gotten quite that far yet. So I will work on that for the next one, because Tim's right. He's right in that you want to have a very succinct statement that you can say, simple. Something that if you tell your grandmother in less than 10 seconds, and she'll understand what you just said. That's the hard part, is getting it down to 10 seconds, but where grandma will understand it. And if she does, and that's not to belittle grandma, but that's just to show you're using the right language at that point.
Was there an issue with the mission statement that was written in the first version of this?
Well,
I just didn't put it in there, that's all.
Well, you put A1 in there.
Yeah,
Was that just Mount Dora's, or where did that one come?
that was a blend of Mount Dora's and what you had provided. I put in all the sources for it and told it, go to work.
See, this one, which was written by a human, is the mission of the town of Howey-in-the-Hills is to provide services to the residents in a competent, caring, and fiscally responsible manner. That's our job, right?
Yep.
Right, I do like those safety, well-being, and prosperity.
Ooh, I do like
That's
that.
what you have here. I
Yeah.
think I like that. Because those services should provide that.
Well, that's the whole reason we're here, right?
Right.
Otherwise, we could all be trying to do it by
What was
ourselves.
the Rahm Emanuel,
Oh,
safe streets, solid schools, you know. got it right here.
Graham's backing up.
Sorry.
Well,
I
if you
I think we're in a
want to
good-
carry on, I'll happily pass the gavel, but
I do
Mayor,
that
Pro Tem, step
sometimes,
up.
so.
I've seen that, and that's
Well,
I take my cue from.
I think we've hit a good point. So we certainly have enough progress for staff to take the next round, work on the initiative level, kind of do some of the proofreading, editorial changes in there, and bring back a revised version for a subsequent workshop at a date yet to be determined.
Okay.
So we're in a good place?
Would it be,
Oh,
any comments that they may have? We got a little bit of time.
Sure.
so here's what Rahm Emanuel said, and you and I worked on it. So it's the one that we came up with. Safe streets, reliable services, and stable finances. Because no one likes a surprise, even if it's a surprise birthday party. People don't like surprises. And that's kind of what I heard last night with the having people mandatorily look up. It's gonna be a surprise.
We've got a few minutes before we're going to adjourn. We did set the hour and a half. I set the hour and a half purely selfishly. The World Cup only comes around once every 4 years, so if you can indulge me, perhaps next time we'll just do double the time. But is there anything you ladies would like to add from your observations so far?
Absolutely. Congratulations, you've moved on to the next version. You know, the paint really doesn't dry, I don't think, at this level of planning, so hopefully we're not trying to bake the cake today.
We are.
I just want to go back to a couple things. Something John said that really resonated with me was really the question, this isn't how I would phrase it, what kind of town do we want to be? The other thing is I'd like to add that I've done a fair amount of strategic planning. For 2 years, I was on the Project BTO organization for downtown Orlando as a business owner. And for 2 years, I was in numerous committees regarding the strategic plan for downtown Orlando. I also worked for Universal for almost 20 years, where we did a lot of planning. I would just say, like I did last night, all roads lead through people. And one of the things I would like to encourage the council to do is to consider adding a strategic initiative that focuses on resident engagement, transparency, participation, and diversity. Thank you.
And can you take those comments and send them to me in an email?
Of course.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other council comments before we adjourn?
Just real quick, I think that what you're saying would fit under quality of life.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think the same thing,
And I think it is important. I agree.
but she said it much better than I
She-
should write it.
She didn't say it well.
I do have some items to go under the quality of life, but we're not going to talk about it today. But I do have some items and I can send it. Actually, it is for diversity and to talk about proclamations. I did run it by a town manager, but I didn't give those. There are 7 areas that I think that the town of Howey need to engage in for diversity.
Okay, good. Can you send those to the town manager?
I sure.
Who
Well,
can send them to me?
I have 2 phone calls I have to make, or they're texting me like crazy, but I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote them. I actually wrote them down. I can send them in an email.
Well, I think.
But I think the
mayor's-
gavel,
mayor's,
the gavel
yeah,
is shaking.
It's looming.
Yeah.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah, 7. I've actually been praying and thinking about that.
It's
7
15:28.
areas.
Thank you for indulging me. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor,
Second.
say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 3:29.5.
No gun.
Mitzi, if you can send your points to me, please.
Yeah.
Thank
Nobody
you.
wants it. It's, Beckham's gone.
Well, we have won the World Cup since 1966, and there is, we have a German manager now.
You went there.